Welcome everyone. I want to begin by thanking everyone for your support with our remote learning program. It would not be made possible without our excellent teachers and staff, our hardworking students, and our ever supportive parents. Thank you. Our model program is receiving local, state, national, and international recognition thanks to our collective efforts. The purpose of this video is to update you on the direction of the school as we move towards entering a safe re-entry for the 2020-21 school year. I have asked our Chief Business Officer and Legal Counsel, Mr. Yuri Calderon, to give us a budget update before I explain the work that is being done to support a safe re-entry into school. Mr. Yuri Calderon.
Thank you, Dr. Alzina. As many of you know, Governor Gavin Newsom on Thursday of last week released his May revise to the state's budget for 2020-2021. Unfortunately, the May revise paints a very dramatically different picture from what the governor's budget looked like in January. As you can imagine, the COVID-19 pandemic and the closures to our economy have severely impacted our economy and the state's projected budget for next year. In the May revise, the governor has revised the state's projected revenue downwards by $54.3 billion. This figure reflects the projected unemployment claims, the drop in residential home construction, and estimated drops in personal income. These new projections will impact the constitutional calculation for Proposition 98 by approximately $15.1 billion over the next 3 years. That drop in funding for schools will impact all categories of funding for California school districts. You may be asking yourself, what does this mean for the Cold Spring School District? Because we're a community-funded or a basic aid district, we rely primarily on local property taxes. We do not rely as heavily on state funding as do most school districts in California. However, we do receive enough funding from the state that it will have a significant impact on our budget and our operations in the coming year. Based on my preliminary projections, I'm estimating a budgetary shortfall of about $250,000. This figure is projected after significant reductions to non-personnel areas of school operations. That includes eliminating all of our professional development and making very significant cuts to purchases of books, supplies, and materials. Our goal over the coming months is to identify the necessary cuts to our operation with as little impact as possible on our educational program and the educational experience of our Cold Spring students. Because our operations are heavily reliant on our excellent staff, this is going to be a challenging task. We are fortunate that over the last 3 years, we've been very successful in building a healthy reserve. Our current plan is to utilize a portion of the reserve to help defray some of the lost revenue from the state. It's important to keep in mind that this reserve also serves as our cash flow for operations during the months of August through November as we wait for our property tax revenue to come in. We cannot deplete this fund below a certain level. Also, the state is projecting and we're anticipating a multi-year recovery. This will require us to be prudent about how we spend down this reserve. Again, I want to be clear. We firmly believe that the educational programs that your child receives here at Cold Spring School is a product of the excellent team of teachers, instructional assistants, and staff that make up the school. We are laser focused on keeping the team together and weathering this economic storm together. While some cuts will be inevitable, our focus is to keep the cuts as far away from the classroom and our educational programs as possible. As many of you know, the district was planning on moving forward in November with a ballot measure for a facilities bond. Prior to the pandemic, the community support was overwhelming in support of this measure. Unfortunately, bond measures cannot be used to support operational costs or ongoing employee salaries. The district is looking for feedback from the community as to whether or not there's still interest to move forward with a facilities bond. We need to replace our aging portable buildings, and we need to invest in our infrastructure like our sewer, water, and our fire life safety. We would make this possible through the use of a facilities bond supported by the community. Finally, like the debris flow, I know that this experience will only make us stronger and more resilient as a community. Thank you. Now, back to you, Dr. Alzina.
Thank you, Mr. Calderon, for the work that you are doing to ensure our district is financially sound during this fiscal crisis. As you have stated, we have worked hard as a community to secure a healthy reserve, but we know this is not going to be a one-year budget shortfall, as we've been told to prepare for even deeper cuts in the years to come. We are trying hard not to make personnel cuts. We know that in order to do that, we're going to have to dip deep into our reserves to offset the shortfall. It'd be irresponsible to absorb the entire $250,000 this fiscal year. Therefore, we are asking parents and community members to meet us halfway through local donations made directly to the district. It is our hope that collectively we can collect $125,000 in direct donations to the district. These donations, combined with pulling from our reserves, would allow us to maintain the excellent programs we have created at Cold Spring School. Now that we've addressed the school budget, I want to focus on re-entry of school. I know you are all eager to get information about the reopening of campus and resuming school in the fall. The California Department of Education has created a Reopening Schools Task Force. I was fortunate to be appointed to the task force by the Small School Districts Association to represent small school districts across the state of California. Our charge by State Superintendent Thurman, who is chairing the task force, has been to develop guidelines for school districts across California to reopen operations. These guidelines will be coming from 4 subcommittees: Health and Safety, Educational Programs, Policy, and Budget. I've been appointed to serve on the Educational Programs Task Force. The task force work should be completed by the beginning of June. These guidelines, along with guidelines from our local Santa Barbara County Public Health Department, will define what the opening of Cold Spring School will look like on August 18th. Please stay tuned. Again, I want to thank you for your continued partnership, input, feedback, and support. I will be circulating a survey seeking feedback to support our long-term and short-term planning. This survey has 5 components: instructional program, school culture and climate, remote learning, a facilities bond, and school budget. I want to thank you in advance for taking the time to give me your thoughtful feedback. I'm soaking up our last few weeks together. I'm going to miss our morning workouts via Zoom, as well as popping in and out of student lessons. Let's all continue to stay healthy and positive. I'm reminded daily as I look into the faces of all of our children that it's our united resilience that collectively gives us strength to fearlessly move forward. Thank you.